I'm catching the flashback.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Donny.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Wow, great to talk to you, man. Great to talk to you. You're in the health industry now?
Well, you know, I definitely have always been I've definitely always been health-minded, and I still am. And in the industry, I'm veering on the verge of it. I started an initiative just to help the fighters, and then all of a sudden it sort of like expanded from there, and I'm actually having to draw on help and expand. So I'm venturing very close to the health industry.
Okay.
Everything you open up, there's more there, right? To learn, and this health thing is a very important aspect right now because we have the old baby boomer generation all needing everything they can possibly do to feel and live a healthier quality of life, right?
Yes, indeed. Me myself.
All of us, yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah.
Okay.
I've always been very passionate about it, and I've also been working a little bit in some boxing stuff, which has been fun.
Okay, what do you do in boxing these days?
Well, I just have the son of a friend of ours. He is like 25 years old, so he's not a young person. He just graduated from university, which he committed to his father to do, and now he's fighting. Now he's wanting to be a fighter, and they've asked me to help guide him, and it's a very exciting thing. He's 6'4", 240, very good, very high potential. But we'll see, how it is in boxing. Like Mike Tyson says, everybody wants to be a fighter till they get punched in the face.
Yes, indeed.
So there's a long ways to go, but it's fun just tapping back into a little bit. It's brought me up to Miami and to the gyms, and I even sparred a few times. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay. Before we get into your pro career, I was asking somebody named Sean. He lives in Canada, and a lot of people used to accuse you of being a one-handed fighter, but I remember you having scarring from an injury. What is the injury you had? Is it on the shoulder?
Yeah, my left shoulder, when I very first injured it, was from hockey, getting hit into the boards. So I tried to stop myself, and it tore my shoulder out. And then it happened falling off a roof one time, and it happened more times boxing. So I had a couple surgeries, but the joint was very compromised and very limited in its motion. So yeah, I had one really odd hand. But through natural medicine and many different techniques, but a couple specifically, my arm's probably 99% or 90% as good as the other one now. And by the time I finished my career, as you mentioned, I definitely was able to develop a hand. And so it was kind of fun because, a lot of sportscasters or sports media people don't really look beyond old headlines when they're doing research. And all of a sudden they're saying stuff that was true 5 years earlier that was not at all the same anymore. And my opponents would be like, damn, I never read anything that said anything about you having a left hand, after the fight to me or something, and I would laugh.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they keep regurgitating the same thing, but I do. I said, they got to ask my fighters, my opponents, if I do, because I actually developed a pretty good left hook. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a unique challenge because I had a very damaged right hand and a very damaged left shoulder.
So how did you compensate for that?
Well, I had to be very careful with what I did. I had a good trainer help me say, okay, well, let's look at the strengths and really focus on being very accurate with those. Like my right hand was so damaged that if I didn't hit a guy in the right part of the head, I would really damage my knuckle or break another knuckle or damage the lining in my joint or something. So I had to be very precise.
Okay.
So it helped me be very, very, very patient, relaxed, almost just like a cobra sitting there ready to strike, just like ready. And it really helped me sort of like come down, and all of a sudden I used less energy and I'm seeing things better because you're more calm and more. And then my left hand, I just had to fake it. I just faked everything with my left hand until it became stronger.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know.
It's like because I remember I used to read the boxing news regular, and the writers, when you was a prospect, the glaringly honest truth is they thought, oh, this guy's not going to make it. And when you took Willie Edwards, is it Willie? No, Eddie Davis. You took Eddie Davis out. You starched him. I think they started to take notice.
Yeah, that's when I won the world title. And before the fight, not one publication, media outlet in Canada paid a writer to come down and cover the fight because they thought I was going to get beat so easily. And then how irrelevant the fight was. And two guys did go, Tom Brennan from the Calgary Sun, and maybe at that time the Winnipeg Sun, I can't remember, and Rick Fraser from the Toronto Star. They went on their own dime, but it goes to show how little people expected. And yeah, it was a good day.
Oh yeah. So did that just make you more determined? Did that just give you more resolve to actually go out there and take the title?
Yeah, you know, you have enough within your own stuff, of course, but it just makes it that much sweeter, of course.
Yes.
And, you know, you like to prove, you know, I was not an Olympian like Sean O'Sullivan, Willie DeWitt, Lennox Lewis. So these guys were given a lot more sort of respect, and you know, I guess rightfully so, they earned it. But I felt that I could accomplish things in boxing, and all I needed was an opportunity, and I wasn't getting the same opportunities because, of course, I didn't do the same things. So it was frustrating. So when I did ultimately succeed, it was very, yeah, rewarding.
So what was the game plan for Eddie Davis?
Basically what happened, you know, not let him connect with me. My basic boxing philosophy was always the same. Make him miss and then make him pay for trying. And I was a good puncher, so I would try and just kind of lure a guy into thinking he was going to hit me. And when he tried, try and counter him.
Yes.
If I could, I would. If I couldn't, I couldn't. You know. And so that's what I did for Davis, and it worked perfectly.
Did you think he underestimated you?
Oh yeah, I think everybody did. And I know everybody did. Every single newspaper article, a boxing magazine, TV story, anything said, you know, they said things like clumsy, unprofessional, amateurish, no business being in this ring. The only reason he's there is because he's white and his manager is David Wolf. You know, no talent, no, you know, I still have copies of them. I mean, it was brutal.
It was brutal. I do remember that. That's why I was hesitant to bring. I didn't want to say anything, and it might have brought up some turbulent memories. But I do remember reading the boxing news, the KO magazine, and they wasn't very respectful of your talents at all. Even though you beat Mustapha Hampsho decisively.
Yeah.
Know, I've never seen the fight, but I always remember reading that you defeated.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, it's actually on YouTube. I'm gonna.
I saw it recently. I was like, because I haven't seen it, let's say, for at least 10 years.
Wow.
And so I put it on YouTube, and so I went, geez, I like after the 5th round, I'm thinking, I know I won this fight, but I mean, how did I win this fight? I haven't won a minute of it yet, you know.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the fight you get to see, and I think it's a fair enough decision.
Yeah, 12 rounder.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I just loved the game. You know, I just loved the boxing. He was dirty. I didn't care. That was his thing, and he thought he was going to get over by doing that. You know.
Oh, he was a rough fighter. He was very rough.
Yeah. Or other people like Leslie Stewart thought by looking mean and being tough and talking, you know, rude, was going to like intimidate somebody. Or yeah, everybody had their own little shtick. So to me, the game was kind of fun because I didn't take it seriously. I just knew that it was their way of psyching themselves up to feel they're going to win or something, you know.
When you took Leslie Stewart out, then everyone had to take you serious then, because he was a really good fighter. He
really was. I consider him the best fighter I ever beat.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That doesn't shock me at all. Doesn't shock me at all. And well, okay, let's give the people what they want. Let's talk about the big one. The Ray Leonard fight.
To put it in perspective, first of all, remember I'm a light heavyweight, and this is in the 80s.
Yes.
And in the 70s, a welterweight and a light heavyweight would never even contemplate fighting, really. You know.
That's right.
So I never thought of fighting Sugar Ray Leonard ever in my life. One day I left the gym just before the Davis fight, and my trainer, Tommy Gallagher, comes up and he goes, Donny, we're going to go for a walk and talk. And I'm like, okay, so we go walk. He goes, what I'm about to say to you, I don't want you to repeat to anybody until I tell you it's okay, but I got to ask you a question. I'm like, okay, what's that? He goes, would you fight Sugar Ray Leonard for $1 million? This is just after he beat Hagelin. And I'm like, are you kidding? Of course, I would fight him for nothing. It would just be an honor. It'd be fun. I would be like, I mean, that's why I'm a fighter. I would love to fight the best, you know. But he wouldn't fight a light heavyweight puncher, would he? You know. And he was like, well, never say you would fight him for nothing again, because you're going to fight him, and you're going to fight him for a lot more money than nothing. And a lot more than $1 million. He goes, but just keep that between us, and I'll start working on it. But anyway, you know, so that's when I first heard of it. And, you know, skill aside, I just thought mathematically, what, I'm not going to hit him? He really thinks I'm not going to hit him once? Well, once I hit him once, it's a different fight, and I should knock him out. So, and rightfully, at 175, there's no doubt in my mind that's what would have happened. But that aside, at 168, when we did fight, I came in at 163, actually. I still felt I had the capacity to beat him. And maybe there were times I just didn't make the right decision. Like when he was hurt, I maybe should have jumped on him more. There was a lot of things I could have done different. But in the end, he's a great fighter. That's why he's one of the greatest fighters of all time. He found a way to win. And hats off to him, you know, whatever.
Well, the win actually hurt Ray in the end, because you was a light heavyweight champion, 175-pound champion. And everybody thought that, yo, if you want to beat Tommy to 4 titles or wherever it was at the time, fight the guy at his weight.
Right, right.
You know? And Floyd Mayweather, he's caught in controversy this week because he's defending his light middleweight titles and welterweight titles at 147. And he's getting similar criticism what Ray was getting. So, what's your opinion on Ray doing that, and what was your feelings at the time?
Well, you know, first of all, I had been lined up to fight for the super middleweight title of the IBF 2 years previous, in '86. Yeah, against a guy named Chong Pal Park in Korea.
Yes, I remember him.
He took the title from Murray Sutherland. Or maybe I was going to fight Murray, and then this guy won it, and I ended up, we talked about that, but ultimately my manager wanted me to fight here, not in Korea, and he felt that light heavyweight, you know, because the super middleweight belt then was just being kind of introduced. But I was never intimidated by the weight class. What happened is I did, for, you know, a lot of reasons, and some of it outside influences out of me, but in the end I have to take responsibility. I came in the fight too light. I came in at 163. I was wearing, if you look at the tape, I was wearing full clothes when I weighed in, because I came in so light. I didn't want them to see how light I was. Wow. And so, you know, I oversparred. I sparred 10 rounds a day, like 50 rounds a week for 7 weeks before that fight. Wow. There was a lot of sparring, a lot of running. I overran. I was just young and I felt great, and it didn't bother me, any of it. So, but in the end, I lost too much weight, and by the 4th round, I saw triple. And well, when he went down in the 4th round, the thought that went through my mind was, okay, this fight's over next time I hit him. And so I stopped doing what I had done, which led up to that knockdown, which was keep him at the end of my jab and just let him try to come in, and when he came in, just catch him. All I had to do was catch him even partially, as you saw, and I was going to hurt him. So all of a sudden he went down, I went, God, next time I hit him, this is over. And I kept thinking, leading up to the fight, and I would tell my manager, he's going to figure out one day what a mistake he's making fighting a light heavyweight puncher, and he's going to find a way out of this fight. It's not going to happen. I was in the dressing room. My manager was in there. Bob Dylan was in there with me. And I fell asleep before the fight. My manager wakes me up, and he goes, you can believe the fight's going to happen. Ray's going into the ring. You got to get up, you know. And because I honestly thought he was crazy. So anyway, I was just kind of like, when he went down, I thought next time I hit him, this is over. And I started watching the fight instead of making it happen. And he started coming on a bit. He got, you know, he made a good next few rounds of it. And then I went back into the zone in the 9th round, and for about 2 minutes just hit him from pillar to post. I was really weak. I didn't have a lot on my punches, but I hit him with everything. He couldn't do anything about it. He was hurt all the time. He told me later, and I knew at the time. But I was looking around for Richard Steele to stop the fight, really.
Yeah.
And Ray saw that and kind of jumped on it and threw a million punches and ended up hitting me in the larynx and crushed my larynx, and that was the end of the fight. And, you know, what can I say? He was a great finisher, and he finished.
Yeah, because what I remember is, like, you was after that knockdown, you was in charge, and then he went to the body, and I thought, oh, he looks like the weight is actually telling on him that, you know, you had to come down all that weight. Because you always struck me as a big light heavyweight. You wasn't a small light, you was a big light heavyweight, you know? So
Who, myself?
yeah, so I'm
Yeah,
shocked.
I'm naturally like 72, 73. Like right now, in a week, I could be 73, you know.
Oh, you still at your fighting weight now?
Like I say, I'm a week away.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing stuff, man.
Well, that's, you know, living healthy really makes a big difference, and I've really always lived very self-consciously of natural. I 100% natural. Never, you know, anything. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'll have a burger and a beer one day or whatever, but generally speaking, I'm very healthy and try to stay that way and stay active. And
Yeah.
I would still fight if it made any sense whatsoever, if my eye was good and my...
What, you fight today?
I mean, my heart and spirit and my mind would sure like to, you know.
Okay.
I know it makes no sense, so I wouldn't. But,
Well, it
yeah,
does actually make sense. Sorry to cut. It does make... Boxers always remain boxers. Even if they don't go back in the ring, you'll always be a fighter. There's something intrinsic, I think.
well, you know, I mean, it really doesn't have anything to do with fighting for me. It has to do with I loved the sport. Like, I loved standing in a boxing room with somebody who literally, you know, was trained, was trying, and thought that he was going to hit me and knock me out.
Yeah.
And then I was going to be like, really? You think you can, like, knock me out? Okay, come and try. You know, not just like a chess game. Not, I don't mean it like egoically or I'm going to hurt you or whatever, but I was a knockout puncher, so
Yeah.
I'm going to try and hit me, and I'm going to hit you back, and it's going to really mess you up. So be very careful when you come in, you know. But, okay, let's do it, you know. Let's play your chess game, you know.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was always kind of fun. It was fun and funny from the day I started to the day I ended. I mean, even the last fight with Virgil Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew I couldn't see him. Well, I knew there was something in my eye going in because I heard it a week before the fight. But even during the fight, he would nail me with a great shot. I would, like, you know, after grunting or I'd be like, wow, nice shot, you know. Because to me, it was just so much fun. It was like, oh, you know, two guys just putting it on the line and giving their all. You know, I never took any of it personally.
Yeah. Like, your last World Championship fight was against Bobby Chiz, who was always one of my favorite fighters. He was a good fighter for the cruiserweight title.
Yeah.
What is it like sharing a room with Bobby, the matinee idol?
Well, I wish I could remember the first 5 rounds.
Okay.
Because after the first round knockdown, I was out on my feet, and I don't even remember till the 5th round. I saw Bobby, and I went, wow, that's Bobby Chiz. And then I heard people, and I went, and there's people here. And I remember thinking, I'm boxing Bobby Chiz. Okay, I better, you know, pay attention. And kind of like in the Leonard fight after he went down, at that point I started thinking more. If you look at the fight,
Yes.
if you forget about the first minute and a half from the knockdown and watch it from that point on, the next 3 of the next 4 rounds, I basically win.
Yeah.
But then I get back into my head and I'm thinking I'm supposed to be boxing, I'm supposed to be moving, I'm supposed to be doing this and that, and I should have just stayed right in the pocket and fought him, and I think I would have knocked him out.
Yeah.
And those few rounds show that. Well, one of us would have went, you know.
Should have gambled, but, you know, hindsight is, you know, that.
Exactly. But so I boxed, and he won a decision. Obviously, he won the fight. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. After the fight, I went. You know, I was out at the pool side the next day and hanging out with my wife and son, and he never came out of the room for a few days. I heard he was fairly banged up.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was a pretty good fight.
It was a great fight. It was a great fight.
Yeah, I just needed to knock him out.
Yes.
He was a tough guy. Tough guy.
So you took 3 years out of the ring after that. What made you take that hiatus?
Well, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. I had a broken forearm going into the chess fight. And, you know, back then, 32 years old was old. And people were like, Donny, what are you doing? Like, I had money, I had a wife, young son, beautiful, everything in my life. And they're like, what are you doing? It's dangerous, you know, blah, blah, blah. And how do you argue with it? You know, so I would not do it for a while.
Yeah.
Then, can't remember what happened the next time. Where, you know, it made sense for me again. And I tried again, you know.
Yeah. That old urge to compete, that came back, I suppose.
Yeah, I just loved it. I just wanted to be in the ring with somebody, trying to win, and me win, and it was just fun. It was a lifestyle that, you know, you commit to.
Yes.
And it forces you to live, and it's a wonderful lifestyle. So I like that part of it also. Okay.
So you're still in touch with the Canadian scene today? David Lemieux, Jean Pascal, Adonis Stevenson, all them guys? You in touch with all that?
No, I'm not. So, I mean, I definitely watch them. I'm not involved in any way or in touch.
Okay.
Yeah, I did work with Interbox for a while back in late. It's the only job I've had since about 70 or maybe 80. You know.
It would be great to have you as an integral part of all that, though, wouldn't it? I think it would be great.
Well, I don't want to live up there. You know, I don't want to live up there. I don't want to speak French. I don't want to.
Okay, I understand that.
I just want to live where I'm living and do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I've thought about like contacting De La Hoya, and you know, he's rebuilding his company.
Yes.
I would like to be involved in the game much more than I am. But am I willing to, you know, like up and live somewhere full time to do it? I'm not sure.
You want to do it on your terms right now?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, life's short. I can retire next year. I'm 54 already.
Wow. It's hard to believe you're that age, man. Like, man, wow. Time flies. I mean, I'm 46 now, so time flies. That shows how young we was in the 80s, you know? We didn't think we'd see these ages, did we, you know?
It's unbelievable to me.
Yes, it is.
I swear I still feel like, I don't know, I could be in my 30s or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I feel the same. I feel very good. But anyway, the fact is, I'm not, and yeah,
no,
you know, it is nice to like just here. You know, it's easy to live a quieter life.
Yeah. So, what are the greatest memories you take away from the ring?
You know, God, there's so many, but I would have to say like just so many days in the gyms. You know,
yeah,
sparring. I remember boxing Lennox Lewis because we started together. He was 12, I was 17. His name was nickname was Junior. He was smaller than me, and so about 11 years later, in '83. I'm sorry, that was in '77. So in 6 years later,
wow,
probably 4 years from when I had seen him last, I was in the town we come from, and I'm thinking about I need some sparring, and I thought, geez, Junior used to spar, maybe he does still, and I found a way to get a hold of him. And he laughs with a big, deep voice, and he goes, "You really want to spar?" And I said, "Yeah, why? Should I not? Like, have you been boxing?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I've been doing a bit of boxing. I didn't know he was #1 in the world as an amateur." And as a heavyweight, right? And I'm thinking of him as this little guy, Junior. And then I go, "Well, do you mind coming down to the gym and giving me a few rounds?" He laughs again, and he goes, "Okay, sure." And he comes down. And then when I see him, he's got this great big smile, great big hands. He puts his hands out, smile, "Still want to box?" Stuff like that. Just like warring with Iran Barkley and like day after day, like freaking like just legendary wars in Gleason's gym.
Wow.
And hugging each other afterwards and just, like just the camaraderie, being in boxing with Marvin Johnson.
Wow.
Day after day in Indianapolis in the hottest, sweatiest, most ridiculous gym in the world, the Powell Boxing Club. and Champ Chaney the trainer, just the different environments of experiences, and just so wonderful. I just love that about it.
So did you see the potential in Lennox back then?
I mean, never thought for a moment, other than in my own wildest fantasies myself, that we would either both accomplish what we did. I mean, he literally is one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yes,
yes.
Cool. I remember when 1977, our trainer at the time named Hook McComb was his name, and he said, "So Donnie, what do you think? What's your goal in boxing?" I said, "Are you kidding? I'm going to be a world champion. I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to be the first Canadian to make $1 million in boxing." And he laughed and he goes, "If anybody could do it, I would bet you can." And moments like that where you literally dared to think such ridiculous thoughts, but somebody supported you and encouraged you in it, and it never left my mind.
Wow, that's quite an accomplishment. So you're the first guy to take $1 million purse out of Canadian boxing.
As a Canadian, of course you can say Lennox is a Canadian. Well, that was after anyway.
That was way after. Yeah.
The Hiltons also were Canadian, but they never made the money.
Oh yeah, the Hilton brothers, Matthew, Davey.
100,000 here and there. The promoters made millions from those guys.
Yeah,
but I never made the money.
Wow. They had some story. They had a great, well, not a great story, but definitely a life interesting story. The whole family.
Oh my God.
That was something. Alex, Davey, Matthew.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got to know the family quite well over the years and consider them good friends, but it's just an unbelievable story. If a person was to try and script that before or after, you could never have done it or capture it still.
Wow. So what about guys like Willie DeWitt? You cool with Willie DeWitt?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I've only met him a few times, and I was doing I managed a fighter from Calgary, Dale Brown. We did a limited partnership in Calgary.
Okay.
A bunch of investors that funded it, and Willie was around here and there at that time. I guess he knew some of the guys, and he's awesome. He's great. He did his thing. I thought he was mismanaged actually. If he had a guy like Dave Wolf, he probably would have done a lot better.
Yeah, they threw him in with Burt Cooper way too early, It was
more their ego than they're using their head, or maybe they just didn't know,
Yeah.
Something gave them the idea, and it was just a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've got to go, like heavyweights, you have to take your time with them, because they mature very slowly, so you have to take your time with that. Like Sean O'Sullivan, I was watching a video, I didn't realize that, he's the worst for his career. It was quite sad to see that. It was quite sad to see that.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you think of the amateurs as not all that physical, but you have over 100 fights and you're a face-first fighter. It all adds up, and then the sparring, and then, of course, he really took some bad punishment in some fights in the pros later.
Yes.
And fights he should not have been in. And that's unfortunately what happens a lot. Guys get hurt. And then they keep doing it, and I mean, I'm the same. I mean, the thing is, though, I never really got hurt. Like, even the Leonard fight, he hit me in the throat. I mean, I wasn't, like, hurting my brain from that fight at all. I was shaken up a couple times. That was it, The Ches fight, that one punch, and he hit me with some shots that probably I don't need a whole lot more of. That was a pretty physical fight.
Yeah.
But that Hampsho fight, but there weren't many of them. And I never really took much of a beating. I never took it in the gyms.
Yeah,
I was a gym fighter. I was a really good gym fighter.
Yeah, well, you actually, you worked behind the jab a lot. You didn't just, like you say, you didn't just rush in there. So,
no.
Yeah. Definitely, you guys should give Donny more credit. Than you are. He's a much better boxer than people give him credit for.
Well, a lot of people have really been uber complimentary, and I've had some amazing feedback from people that made me really stand back and go, "Wow, it's interesting that people saw that perception." I also saw that, but I don't expect others to.
Yeah.
And some have, and some people have told me some very, very, very complimentary stuff. And I'm talking about people like Emmanuel Stewart, real fight people.
Yeah.
And so I know where I was. I had a very physically challenging career because I was injured all the time because of my hand and shoulder.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to really like get in with Haglers and Hearns at 167 and down at that time, maybe let's say in the mid 80s, where I could have become part of that picture.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there because I was injured all the time in those days.
So I'm quite shocked to say for you to say that you could have campaigned at super middleweight. Do you think that would have been a better weight for you than actually light heavyweight?
No, I like light heavy as my favorite weight, but back then that's where guys were reachable. You know, like
Yes.
Hearns, Hagler was even someone that you could think maybe I could get down to fight him, or he would come up or something, or well, I mean back then that whole weight class had so much going on in it, whereas the light heavyweights like Hill. Doesn't matter how talented he was, he never sold tickets. It wasn't a big fight, and he was a freaking ridiculous, hard person to fight, and so there wasn't a lot to gain by that fight. And I always wanted to fight Chez. He was a champion right around that same time, but I think at that time he was kind of partying a bit and not boxing much or something. Maybe that's when he moved up to cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He was the picture in my life at that time.
That was a good matchup, though. It was a good matchup.
Yeah. When he fought Willie Edwards, I went to his fight a couple years earlier and tried to stir something up. That's around when I was like number 1 in the world at super middle to fight Chongqing Park.
So you made your presence felt.
Yeah, I was trying to make something happen. Nobody believed I could fight because I was so injured all the time that, Aram and these guys, they would never like sign me. So I had to go try and do it myself.
Yeah. Well, so how's the family? How you looks like you got a very great family there on Facebook. How much kids you got?
A son who's 22.
Yeah, he looks actually bigger than you. He looks.
And our daughter is 21.
What's up?
Sorry, Donny. This is my friend Chris. Yo, Chris, we got Donny Lalonde, the former light heavyweight champion of the world, on the line just right now.
What's up, Donny?
We hang out here in Costa Rica right now. It's pouring rain in the jungle of Costa Rica.
Yeah, I heard the thunderstorms.
Yeah, you was one of my favorite action fighters from the late '80s and early '90s.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I wish we could keep doing it.
Well, thank God for YouTube. We can actually see a lot of Donny Lalonde and all the great fighters from the '80s. It's really good. I mean, like you said, you didn't see the Mustapha Hampsho fight for 10 years until YouTube. So that must be actually quite a culture shock for you to say, "Wow, that's me back then."
It really is. It's just like, what just comes to me is just wishing I could have done so much more of it.
Yeah.
Because I loved it all so much.
You left your mark, though. You left your mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel good about that. I feel good that I only had a couple opportunities and I made a little bit of noise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. But you floored Ray, man. You floored Ray.
I want to say I didn't like what Ray did by making them lose weight. I don't like that catch weight stuff.
Yeah, well, ultimately we're all grown men and we have to make our own decisions. And I personally didn't feel that it hurt me to go down to that weight, though I think Ray really felt it did. Gil Clancy told me in a TV studio before the fight, about 5 weeks before, he said, "Donny, at 175 you beat Ray 9 out of 10 times. At 168, he said at 168 I think he beats you 9 out of 10. Why would you do this?" And I said, well, because I don't feel the same way. I really didn't feel that way because I had fought and I had been at 67, 69, But so I felt I could still fight at that weight, and I really felt Ray was taking a big chance to step up and fight a light heavyweight, and so I didn't see it as a bad thing. But what ended up happening is I ended up overdoing it, overtraining for different reasons, and I ended up coming in at 163. I actually weighed 167 at the weigh-in, but if you see the weigh-in, I'm wearing all my clothes because I was 163 and I didn't want them to realize how thin I was.
Okay.
So I overdid it, you know, and it caught up with me. Around the 4th round, I started seeing triple and 5 of him, and all of a sudden I realized, okay, I'm in trouble here.
They always say hit the guy in the middle.
I can get this thing soon, you know.
They say when you see 5 of them, hit the guy in the middle.
That's right. But this guy was moving fast and he was throwing a lot of punches.
What was you saying, Chris? Sorry.
So what you say?
What did you say, Chris? You was asking something?
Yeah, I was at one to ask Donny Lalonde what do he feel about the current crop of light heavyweights. Do you watch? Do you keep up?
I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying the guys right now. Like Kovalev's obviously exciting. Hopkins, what he's doing. In 2003, I was at the Playboy Mansion. There was a fight card going on, and Bernard was there, and I was training with James Toney, and I was in town. I was training. He was training to fight Holyfield, and I was training to fight Hill. And he comes up to me and he's like, "This is Bernard." He goes, "What are you doing, Donny, at your age fighting?" He goes, "It's an embarrassment. It's unfortunate. You know, I really look up to you, and a lot of people do. You left a really good name. Why are you going to ruin it by fighting this late in your life?" And anyway, here he is now at 49 years old with my old belt.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So of course, I'm interested to see what happens with him. Stevenson, of course, is very dynamic. I think it's a pretty exciting time right now in the light heavyweight division. I wish I could get back in there.
Yeah. Well, Kovalev and Hopkins are fighting. How do you see that panning out?
You know, I see it as a dangerous fight for Hopkins.
Yeah.
Kind of like when I fought Leonard. I mean, like Kovalev's a bigger guy. He's a really hard puncher. Hopkins is all what Hopkins is, but you get caught sometimes by some guys only partially, and you're banged up enough that all of a sudden you don't know your name, and it's a whole different world. And so I see it as a dangerous fight for Hopkins. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, it could potentially be a banana skin, but the experience that Bernard has, that should play a part. It's a great matchup. It's definitely a great matchup.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge advantage. And, it's certainly not a one-way fight. I'm just saying I do see it as a really interesting fight because I do see Kovalev as very alive. And now, I mean, either one of them with Stevenson is also an exciting fight to me.
Yep.
So all of it is good. What's happening in the light heavyweight division? I think there's other people that are interesting as well. So I think boxing's in a good place right now. I don't really adhere to the old thinking that boxing's struggling right now at all.
Yeah, some people they over dramatize it about boxing is dying. It's on its feet, last legs. But boxing is still a great sport, and it always will be. I think it always will be. Just when you think it's slowing down, a match like Kovalev and Hopkins comes along, and that's the nature of it. That's the nature of it.
Exactly. And when we get some people that we can pronounce their names, they're not from Far Eastern Europe, and the guys that we can relate to. We can you hear their story, and all of a sudden you get enrolled. But I mean, lately it's been like, for instance, the old saying of boxing: "As heavyweights go, so goes boxing."
Yes.
Well, the heavyweight champions have been Klitschko's for 10 years, and before that it was Lennox Lewis for 10 years. And none of them captured the North American public like people previous had, and like somebody in the future will,
Yes, indeed. Although
boxing will be right back in the midst of it.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully so. We got Wilder and Stavern coming soon, and hopefully Klitschko will take on the winner, and we can get the heavyweight scene back to where it is,
Yeah, I think I'm interested in both the guys, that you just mentioned. And Klitschko, hopefully, ideally, they just go away, Because they're never going to fight over here, I guess, and they're not even that interesting to watch fight, but nobody can beat them, so, I mean, we're stuck with them. But, I hope them a good life. Just, I would have get two guys that are fun to watch fighting.
Well, you was honest. You got to be honest about it. A lot of people don't like watching them fight. They're very competent, though. They're very competent.
Oh, very skilled. I was at the Lennox Lewis Klitschko fight in L.A. And I don't think Lennox was going to win that fight if Klitschko wasn't cut like that. I think they're right there. They're great fighters. Unfortunately, they're not exciting to watch, and they're not from here, and they're not anywhere near here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we don't relate to them because they don't. Yeah, they don't somehow engage.
They haven't got that connection with the world. But in the Ukraine and Germany, they're the best thing since sliced bread. You know.
Yeah. You know, they make a lot of money and they're doing well over there, and I'm happy for them. A lot of European fighters do very, very well, and that's what I mean. The industry, the sport is healthy. It's just not happening as intensely or in depth as in North America nowadays, but it's very big all over the other places in the world. So I think in all, boxing is very healthy right now. The issue, I think one of the big issues is amateur sport in general is not as supported as it was governmentally, and people have lost kind of like the tradition of the boxing thing. There used to be boxing gyms in police league gyms.
Yeah.
There used to be boxing in community centers. You know, football, different sports do different kind of fitness training, and boxing is one of them. But that being said, boxing fitness training is coming back into vogue, and that can also bring the sport back. So it's all going to be good. I'm not worried about the sport of boxing, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I watch it and follow it all the time.
Yeah, man. That's great. I'm glad to see you still enthused about it. I'm glad for that, you know. So, is there any, contacts that you want to, with your health stuff that you want to give the public to go check out, or?
The name of the company that we're building for the commercial side of it, for people to be able to access the products, is called Well of Wellness. And, you know, of course, tkoo.org, I believe. Yeah, tkoo.org is the website. But both are in the development stage. Just look out for us. People will be able to see it in the boxing circles soon, type thing.
Okay.
I'm not really quite there, but we're basically what it's all about is natural medicine, holistic health, and just helping people understand that their body, with the assistance of other natural elements, can heal, you know, most anything. And there's a lot of benefit to enhancing your life this way, and hopefully we'll get that out to people so they can live a better quality of life. And along the way, some people make some money, and some fighters will be healed from it. And so it's all good. It's a win-win-win.
Excellent, man. Because you said that you was actually using natural medicine to heal your shoulder back even when you was fighting. So it's not like it's not something you're new to, obviously.
No, in 1981, they did a whole newspaper article. They interviewed me because they said the AMA wanted to ban boxing. What did I think of it? And I said, I think we need to ban the AMA because for example, they say that people should drink cow's milk, and we got into the whole conversation about that. And it's kind of funny because about 3 days ago on Facebook, somebody posted an article that was published that speaks to exactly what my perspective was in 1981 about, you know, the fallacy of milk, cow's milk, being really what we're supposed to be drinking as humans for the nutrients we were trying to get from it. And, you know, I've been an advocate of it since basically the late 70s, early 80s, since I had these injuries in boxing and they could not be healed through the normal methods of medicine. And so I was told by doctors I had to retire because of my shoulder, I had to retire because of my hand. And I'm like, every time I get a problem with these guys, they tell me I have to retire. That's not an option for me. So I got to go find somebody who says, how can we work around this? And so I started exploring natural medicine, and that's basically how I got to where I am today. And I've been, since 1981, I've had one ibuprofen and one Advil in all those years, no matter what injury, no matter what surgery, no matter what issue I had. I don't take pharmaceuticals, and I live 100% naturally, and there's ways to do anything and everything naturally with no side effects, and in fact they enhance your life and your health versus detract from it. So I'm just a strong believer in natural medicine and holistic healing.
Okay, that's very impressive, man. Very impressive. Okay, before you go off the line, because we're going to sign, unless Chris has got anything else to ask. You got anything you want to say to Donny, Chris?
Yeah, I just was preparing a mythical matchup with Donny Lalonde versus Kovalev, and I had Donny Lalonde beating him because I thought Donny Lalonde fought better competition than the guys today. Well, how would you think if you was fighting today, how you do against this guy? Because I personally think you'll be one of the champs at this weight at 175.
Well, you know what they say? They say when puncher fights puncher, who wins? He with the best chin.
Yeah.
Ultimately, right? And because chances are when you're in with a puncher, you're going to get hit. Merky Sosa was just like a murderous puncher. And I did a lot of sparring with him. I ran Barkley, different guys. And some guys, they hit, and it just makes your bones rattle right down to your feet. I mean, and other guys, they hit you heavy, might knock you over, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think Kovalev has this kind of punching power, and I know that I did. So I think it's a matter of, you know, who gets to who first and how that impacts the person. And I think I would be more likely to catch him cleaner than he would catch me, because I was usually pretty awkward and pretty good at getting away from it, getting at least part of it. So as long as I could, you know, not get hit too clean and catch him once good and clean, it could be a fun night for me. But no, I think, you know, it's a very dangerous fight for both of us.
I agree.
Yeah, don't go to the fridge on that one.
That's right. Yeah. Remember the Norton shavers?
Yes.
Oh my God, you guys, I don't know, it was like in the 70s. But anyway, it was like right when pay-per-view was coming. So you had to take a day off work. You had to drive 2 hours from where I lived to rent a hotel room and, you know, get there to see the pay-per-view, the fight. I was filling the bathtub full of beer. It was probably 1977. And, you know, just talking about introductions and all that. I rushed in there to fill the thing. And all of a sudden, my friends were screaming. And I run out there, the fight's over. Like 50 some odd seconds.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You can't sleep on Ernie shavers, man.
Yeah.
Ernie could punch. Ernie could, just like yourself. Just like yourself.
Yeah, well, I think he's the greatest puncher of all time.
Okay.
Right up there, anyway, with top 2 or 3.
Yes. He's got a great, not his percentage. Him and Archie Moore, guys like that.
Yeah.
Great percentages, man. That's another great light heavyweight champion. You know. Okay, thanks for the interview by Donny and Chris Caban. Catch you guys later.